Hello and welcome to another edition of National Focus. I'm Pearl Fontaine. Thank you for joining us. Topping the headlines, an incremental approach suggested to introducing ICT in schools. Bend's community will soon benefit from a new water supply system, and the Paybush community concludes celebrations for the Feast of St. Matthew. Stay with us for these stories and more right after the break.
Hey, I had a good time in town last week with a pretty girl, man.
Hey, carry me next time when you're going now.
Where we get paid Friday, we gonna go.
Careful, they might catch AIDS.
AIDS? Them girl pretty. Them girl can't get AIDS,
I
man.
think it's only ugly women have AIDS. Anybody could get it. If you get sick, what you can tell your wife?
Hey, your wife, come in.
Hey, change the topic. Change the topic.
Your family depends on you. Don't take home AIDS.
Do you have uncovered water storage drums around your home? Do you dispose of old tires, cans and old containers capable of holding water anywhere in your environment? Are you being bitten by mosquitoes, particularly at dusk and early morning? Do you keep houseplants in water? Do you spend your hard-earned cash to control mosquitoes? Has your community experienced dengue fever outbreaks? If your answer is yes to at least 3 questions above, you are at risk to dengue fever. Join the fight against dengue fever. The responsibility for a dengue-free Dominica lies with you. So, get rid of the Aedes aegypti mosquito.
Welcome back. Program Manager at the International Telecommunications Union, Sylvester Cadet, says his organization has welcomed an e-learning symposium currently underway in Dominica. The 3-day symposium, which commenced here on Monday, is being facilitated by e-learning specialist, Dominican-born Dr. Laurel John Baptist. Dr. John Baptist, who has worked in education and online learning for over 13 years, has been meeting with educators, administrators, and students, bringing them knowledge on the use of online learning in the classroom.
I met with Dr. John Baptist online, and we were discussing from a regional perspective. And surely we saw the opportunity to do something locally as Dominicans speaking, and therefore Mr. Bennett Thomas, who is really the focal point here, I must emphasize, really took the process forward, and kudos to him. And surely at this point in time we would want to focus more on what he is doing, but really the ITU is quite keen in ensuring that the various countries are connected, committed we are to connecting the world. That is our main mantra. And e-learning is a fantastic platform for that process.
Cadet, who is Dominica's former telecommunications director, believes the expertise of Dr. John Baptist will greatly assist Dominica in taking the business of e-learning to a new platform.
I anticipate that we would have a lot of interactive discussions. It's all in the seed that you plant. Whether it's a beautiful life or wasted year, it's all in the seed that you plant. And therefore, it is anticipated that the seeds that are planted here today, tomorrow, and surely on Wednesday, would take root in terms of new innovations, in terms of having a dream towards entrepreneurship, towards ensuring that we create, we innovate. So these are the kinds of things that are being looked at, and surely I'm sure that Dr. John Baptist will lend quite a bit in terms of her knowledge and experience to Dominica.
Dr. John Baptist will hold a lecture at the UE School of Continuing Education on Emsall Road on Wednesday evening from 7 p.m. Other speakers at that lecture will include President of the Dominica State College, Dr. Donald Peters, and Dr. Francis Severin, Acting Director of the UE Open Campus Country Sites. Meanwhile, learning specialist Dominican-born Dr. Laurel John Baptist is suggesting an incremental approach be used to implementing information communication technologies or ICT in Dominican schools. On Tuesday, she met with educators and school principals at the Public Service Training Center as part of activities making a 3-day symposium on e-learning taking place this week.
We would be very well served if we implemented incrementally. So we don't necessarily have to start with or continue with a huge, expensive endeavor. We can take an incremental approach, identify some key objectives at the beginning, and put the measures in place, measure whether these objectives are being effective, and then we move to the next step. What that allows us to do is control budget, control scope, and improve our chances of success. That is absolutely critical. Now, if we just see it as, okay, technology is changing everything and we need to venture onto this huge endeavor, then there are other countries who've gone in that direction and they've had many challenges. So if we look at it in that way, then we may have some of those challenges ourselves. But I think we're very well served by taking an incremental approach and taking a very measured approach.
At Tuesday's forum, Dr. John Baptist got an opportunity to hear from the school principals, their thoughts on ICT and how the subject can be of greater benefit to their students. Dr. John Baptist, who has had several years of working in the field of education and online learning, discussed the importance of online education technology in schools.
When we look at what's happening on a global scale, what's happening, the technology revolution in Brazil, in India, in China, it is really critical that we not be left behind, because technology is shaping and will continue to shape the success of economies. So we cannot see this as just another thing, another buzzword. It really is critical that we stay on top of technological advancements.
Dr. John Baptist is an advocate for online learning. She believes that online technology should be used for foundational learning in high school and post-secondary school institutions. The community of Benz will soon have a new water supply system. Kamani Seja has that report.
Several projects are underway in the Pebush constituency. Last week, GIS News, along with the parliamentary representative, Honorable Matthew Walter, and members of his constituency association visited a number of these projects. We saw the Derrivier Bridge project in Pebush and the Fontaine feeder road in Ansolda, which are both much needed by the farmers of these areas for easier access. The next stop of this constituency visit was a project undertaken by the government of Dominica to provide safer, cleaner water for the residents of Benz, Ansdeme and Ansolda.
After walking for an hour and a half and crossing 9 rivers, we are finally here at the area where the water intake for the Benz water project is going to take place. It's a project between the government of Dominica and Owasco. We have Mr. Eutychus Fabian. Could you tell us a little more about the project and what it means for the people of Benz?
Okay, for this, the entire community is very much excited about this project. We waited quite a long time for this water project because we've been having a bad water supply in the community of Benz, Ansdeme and Ansolda for quite some time, with pipes which were laid over almost 40 plus years. And we figured out it's time, way past due, that we should have proper drinking water in our community. And we had a lot of lobby with the government, the Dominica Labour Party government, to bring in fresh water or better water supply to us in Benz. With that, it delayed a bit. We had a little demonstration, which of course made a little arising. However, the Prime Minister of Dominica, Roosevelt Skerrit, saw it that together with PALREP, that they should do something for the people of Benz.
Honorable Walter agrees that a new water supply has been the plight of the people for quite some time.
The present system is inadequate, and the people complained a lot about the hygienic and the sanitary condition, of the water system. And persons like Eutychus, Fabian, there was a lamentation every day, about the kind of water that they are getting in their kitchen. Sometimes when I visited the house of Eutychus used to trap the water in a bottle, and when the impurities settle, in the bottle, he would show it to me as evidence that the water was not good for drinking. So the government responded to their call, and certainly we are investing over $3 million in that project.
The project will be done in several phases. In the first phase, pipes were laid all through the village up to a central point, which is near the Benz Seventh-day Adventist Church. The second phase saw the laying of pipes from that point to a newly constructed water tank and across to the new water intake. The next phase involves the construction of access road from the area where the water intake will be constructed. Eutychus Fabian is president of the Constituency Association and the residents of Benz. He expresses his satisfaction with the work being done.
So far, I am satisfied that the road is at the site. The actual construction of the intake hasn't begun yet. We hope that after they're finished with the casting of the road, paving of the road that we saw, and the vehicles can bring the material to the site, actual project of the intake will be started.
Fabian says villagers are excited about the project and anticipates its completion. Local contractor George Nathan is responsible for the construction of the access road to the water intake. His foreman, Glenworth Defoe, explains the progress of the project.
At this point right now, we're trying to get that road organized so we can take material up to the intake and to build the bridges also.
Defoe says the benefits of such undertakings are twofold. Not only will the people of Benz get cleaner water, but young people like him can be employed.
It's a good vibe, because I'm looking out for that, because I'm from Grand Bay. I have to leave Grand Bay, all the way from Grand Bay and come down there. So anyway, anytime the government implements or have projects like that, it's a vice for us, especially young people like me, you understand? So big up to the government now.
The Benz water supply is 60% complete and is expected to be fully operational sometime in the first quarter of 2014.
For GIS News, I'm Kimani Senja.
Thank you, Kimani, for that report. Moving along, consultations with CARICOM officials and the change team of Glenn and Associates continued on Monday afternoon with members of the public service. Permanent secretaries, heads of government, departments, and other senior public servants convened at the Garraway Hotel to discuss ideas for the way forward with CARICOM. These consultations are part of the reform process, which is needed to effectively mobilize the community towards regional integration. A review of the Secretariat revealed that reform was necessary but cannot be done in isolation. Myrna Bernard, officer in charge of human and social development to the CARICOM Secretariat, says development has to be looked at in new ways. She suggests that a societal approach to development is the way forward for the community.
We can't look at development in silos. The current global process with regard to development has encouraged us to think of development in new ways, looking at the economic, social, and sustainable aspects of that development, and emphasizing the fact that that development needs to be looked at and implemented, and initiatives implemented in an intersectoral manner. And that is very, very important in terms of government. Intersectoral within and among government departments, intersectoral in terms of government and other interests such as the private sector and labor, and the whole of society, a whole of society approach to development, which is why we need to consult with all of the civil society groups. We need to have an infusion of perspectives from our youth. Because sometimes we sit in our offices and we make plans for youth and we're completely off target.
The strategic plan for the period 2014 to 2018 will be shaped by the ideas and recommendations from various sectors of the society in all CARICOM countries and its associates. The aim of the exercise is to identify and establish clear, concise, realistic goals for the community, which can be successfully implemented and measured.
One of the criticisms we've heard over and over is that we try to be too many things to too many people. We pack agendas and can't deliver. Those are some of the comments we hear.
The process also involves an intergovernmental task force which is currently reviewing the Treaty of Chaguaramas.
This process is taking place alongside another important process, and that is the intergovernmental task force, the work of the intergovernmental task force on the further revision of the Treaty of Chaguaramas, which brought our community into being in 1973. The world has changed, the region has changed, the regional configuration has changed. When the treaty which brought into being the single market and economy, for example, was done in 2001, and when the single market was instituted in 2006, we did not have the revised Treaty of Basseterre. And so, even as the OECS is deepening its integration arrangements, we have to look to see what accommodations might be needed within the Treaty of Chaguaramas. And so this is a psychological opportunity and a practical opportunity from several points of view. It's the 40th anniversary. It's time to look, time to reflect, time to project where we're going.
Members of the public sector were encouraged to bring across their ideas to ensure that the process realizes success.
We are here to make a major, to deal with a major exercise in the life of this region. Some people have said, if we don't get it right this time, that's it. So it's incumbent on all of us to do the best we can to make this process work this time.
Dominica is the 7th member state in which discussions are being conducted. On Tuesday, day 2 of consultations, the CARICOM Change team met with the Prime Minister and his cabinet, as well as leader of the opposition, civil society, churches, the youth and NGOs. The local change driver is Dominica's ambassador to CARICOM, His Excellency Felix Gregoire. CARICOM officials described Monday morning sessions with the private sector as productive. And that's the English segment of the news. McPherson St. Luce is next with the Creole highlights.
Allô tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle en créole. Non moi c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, département drogue Dominique chaîne cérémonie aujourd'hui, où là il fait présentation plaque et certificat pour diverses écoles qui ont participé en programme ça ou peer pressure programs. Permanent secrétaire ministre Santé Helen Royer adresser ces participants-là.
Yo ka travailler puis enfants l'école, là yo ka ba yo information, yo ka ni différents bagages pour développer yo puis bagages pour empêcher drug use et puis yo ka servir même ces enfants ça là ça pour aider d'autres enfants. Ministère santé content qui ces bagages ça là ka fait parce que ça pas pour mes programmes nous connait pour l'école l'année passée puis commencement l'année ça là ça drug prevention unit nous pas de programme yo ka aller l'école et puis les chaque fois ou attend monde ka dit ouais pas ka faire mais ou tout ça va bon matin là pour ou même ka été programme ministère santé ka fait et puis moi really voulais applaudir ministry department drug prevention unit pour travail yo ka fait yo ka travail wed les chaque fois ou va bagaille kon drug ou pas ka voir résultat bien bon et qui point temps mais nous ka voir travail yo ka fait c'est bon travail et puis le ministère santé veut applaudir.
Jacinta Barnes, c'est coordinateur du département drogue Dominique.
Nous avons ballonné pour ces écoles-là qui participent à un programme là, nous avons créé Peer Helpers, les enfants de l'école qui assistent ces enfants-là pour dire dangereux contre drogues. C'est un programme neuf, so, ça que fait avant, nous tenions l'eau, ce que Drop Free Club en c'est l'école là. Mais après l'argent, IDF, EU fini, c'est ces clubs ça yon disparaître. So nous pour faire quelque chose pour assister ces enfants encore pour faire yo savent plus actifs pour participer plus en affaires contre drogues. So nous lancé peer helpers programme ça là l'année passée. Et puis c'est première année là. So moi dit nous pour bayo antilonné pour faire plus vous savez plus joyeux bayo joyeux et puis bayo plus groupe pour assister. So c'est ça fait ça que aller devant à classe yo que parler et puis yon de l'autre yo que aller à commune là yo que mener monde qu'on nos police pour parler puis et puis yo que écrire chanter yo que faire placard yo que faire poème. So il y a bayo en plus goût pour travailler en affaires de drogue.
On a nouvelle officier Haïti qui a conduit un symposium en Dominique Dr. Laurel John Baptiste qui a visité l'école à Pont-Néguion sous Gilam et puis comment il est important pour le développement. Parole ça sorti officier département Haïti Abraham Durand.
Le mercredi le 25. Quand il y a une discussion à UWI Open Campus, à auditorium UWI Open Campus, nous avons chef Dominica State College, Dr. Peters, qui est là, chef UWI, Dr. Severin qui est là aussi, Dr. John Baptiste même qui est là, il y a des gens Ministry of Education. Et nous avons parlé de comment la technologie a changé gamme nous a délivré l'éducation. Avec Dr. John Baptiste qui a expliqué plus de détails. Comment il a dit Dominique Savini premier, Dominique Savini est devant à dans comment on a servi technologie pour faire l'éducation plus bon, plus fort, avec plus bouillant en Caraïbes là.
On a nouvelle ministre de l'Éducation, Honorable Peter Saint-Jean, qui a fait parole qui ministre de l'Éducation qui recognisé bien clair, qui teacher l'école supposé taper innovation et puis manière neuf pour mettre les affaires Haïti en curriculum l'école. Honorable Saint-Jean fait parole cela pendant la cérémonie pour ouvrir symposium Haïti en Dominique Learning. Ministre Saint-Jean fait parole qui là a changé bien vite si notre technologie, comme ça est bien important pour l'école mettre en ordre et puis technologie cela. En même temps aussi, directeur Telecoms Bennett Thomas fait parole qui travaille Haïti aussi qu'à mettre considération en curriculum l'école, fait études avancées et puis technologie là. Finalement, le ministre communauté a mis en place changement compagnie à Dexia. Parole cela sorti du ministre de la communauté, Honorable Dr. John Colin McIntyre.
Le gouvernement passé au premier ministre parler de ça l'année avant, comme si nous avons changé nous avec nous tenions une national export strategy. Et bien national export strategy, nous avons gardé agriculture comme si nous avons produit agriculture, nous avons parlé de natural resources. Avec nous avons parlé de culture. Mais actuellement, nous savons nous les couilles et puis agriculture, parce que nous avons planté pli, nous avons planté dans chigno avec tout ce qu'il y a ça. So, ça nous a dit, n'importe bitin, nous avons produit à Dominique. Pas agriculture tout seul, agro-processing, tout ça nous avons produit à Dominique. Nous faisons une institution qui est Export Dominica. So, Export Dominica, ça baisse ça now. Il a acheté ça Dominique qui produit. Avec nous qui ada institution ça nous qui exporte tout ça nous ca produit à Dominique.
Messieurs mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelle en créole pour à présent. Non moi c'est McPherson and Luce. Au revoir.
Up next in the tip of the day, find out how you can maintain a healthy weight.
Do you have uncovered water storage drums around your home? Do you dispose of old tires, cans and old containers capable of holding water anywhere in your environment? Are you being bitten by mosquitoes, particularly at dusk and early morning? Do you keep houseplants in water? Do you spend your hard-earned cash to control mosquitoes? Has your community experienced dengue fever outbreaks? If your answer is yes to at least 3 questions above, you are at risk to dengue fever. Join the fight against dengue fever. The responsibility for a dengue-free Dominica lies with you. So, get rid of the Aedes aegypti mosquito.
The weight that's right for you depends on many factors, including your sex, height, age, and heredity. Excess body fat increases your chances for high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, some types of cancer and other illnesses, but being too thin can increase your risk for osteoporosis, menstrual irregularities, and other health problems. If you're constantly losing and regaining weight, a registered dietitian can help you develop sensible eating habits for successful weight management. Regular exercise is also important to maintaining a healthy weight. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm, or you can visit our website at news.gov.dm. On behalf of the entire news production team, I'm Fontaine. Thank you for watching.